Rise is a monster-raising platforming RPG for the PS1. Saying this is both an over- and understatement. You'll understand what I'm getting at in a minute. Also, if my voice sounds weird, it's because I got a cold, and it's still kicking my ass. To say anything about Ling Rise's opening would cheapen it. I'll let you watch for yourself, but know that the moment I saw this, I had a feel like this would be something special. Even the title screen just has, like, a vibe to it. They're flexing that soundtrack the first opportunity they get. I guess even budget games like this and Prisoner have got to make a first impression, especially when it comes to giving copyright warnings. And from actually hitting new game, you get this really long text crawl that has some of the most freaky and depressive ambiance I've ever seen in one of these. What am I getting myself into here? The crawl itself tells the story of the kingdom of Ihashas, a peaceful and prosperous kingdom overturned in the coup d'etat waged by the captain of the Imperial Guard, Mubara. The people of Ihashas, having known only peace, were incapable of fighting back against him as he murdered or cast out their royal family and enforced a reign of tyranny on the land. Our story begins many years following this on another routine day of weary oppression, as the common man has grown used to beginning the day with a mere disheveled sigh. A young country boy named Jinval, living in the town of Balanbaan, nearly met his end when Mubara's army torched his village. The lives of him and his people were just barely saved by a lone Ling master, waging a one-man war against Mubara's forces, a hero known by the name of Blue Hawk. In admiration of this brave warrior, Jinval himself chooses to set out from this village with his own Ling. All that done, you finally load into the game and wow, this is a tonal shift. We pick up right from Jinval and his Ling, Pachu, setting out from their village, trading a few words, well, sort of, before handing us control. And this game is... Wait, I've played a game like this before. What am I... Wait. No way. Yes way. This is Crash Bandicoot. This is JRPG Crash Bandicoot. You run forward on a linear track through one-way paths with occasional forks in the road down to different areas while breaking boxes to collect fruits and items. The main difference is your method of attacking. Jinval himself possesses no offensive capabilities, so the fighting is left to Pachu, who you fire off with the R1 button. He'll home in on the closest enemy and has some decent range. Every time you use him, it'll wear on him a bit though. You do have to be careful not to wear Pachu down too much by spamming him all the time. He has two different meters, one for exhaustion and one for his general mood. Using him wears on energy, while mood will drift in different directions over time on its own. If his energy bottoms out, he can still attack, but he'll get much more sluggish. If his mood goes too low or too high, he'll get pissed at Jinval and occasionally refuse to attack. You can remedy this a bit with items, which are available as random drops, but since you have to keep track of both meters separately, there's still some things to watch out for. Food will restore his energy, but will also push his mood in one particular direction. Some items will raise his mood, others will lower it, and you can't have it leaning too hard in either direction. Since Pachu is the one doing the fighting, he's the one with all the stats. Jinval only has a flat HP meter shown up here in the corner and more precisely every time you take a hit. Those numbers look like damage numbers, but they're not. That's how much HP the character taking damage still has. Pachu won't level up naturally through fighting. Instead, every enemy you defeat and most of the boxes you break will drop the game's currency, these seeds referred to as PF, which can be traded for goods and services. The main shops in the game are the Ling shops, which sell various items, both healing kits for Jinval and food items for your Lings. Most important, though, are the level up and ability learning menus. Lings have 3 major stats: attack, knowledge, and energy. They're pretty self-explanatory. Knowledge is the trickiest one. A Ling requires a certain level of knowledge to learn new abilities. The abilities are more advanced alternatives to their basic attacks, and can do significantly more damage in exchange for a significantly higher energy cost, so they're important if you want to take your enemies more efficiently. They're also kind of wildly varied in effectiveness. You can get by through the entire game with the basic attack pretty easily, but you should absolutely not skip out on skills like the charge attack or hover. The former is pretty essential to reducing tedium in the game's combat in the latter half, and the latter is just actually required to clear some of the later levels. There's no real tricks to raising stats in general. If you've got the nuts to pay, you can raise them in increments, and you actually get enough to raise them pretty high right at the start. This is good, because it takes surprisingly quick to get your second and third Lings from here. All in all, the gameplay in Ling Rise is decent, but probably not the main draw. The actual core feel of the platforming and combat is kinda so-so. Not really satisfying or engaging in terms of enemy or boss design. It works, but it could be better. There is something much better about the game, though. If there's one area in which Ling Rise pretty consistently impresses, it's how hauntingly beautiful it can look and sound. There's certain bells and whistles it lacks, and things that look a bit off, but for everything kinda weird and budget feeling about it, it also has some surprisingly nice textures and animation work. It lands a bit more on the brave fencer Musashi side of things than the Threads of Fate or Mega Man Legends side. Characters are a bit lankier and less detailed, but they've got a good bit of personality in how they move, and the world itself is very vivid and colorful, with some pretty stunning panoramas. The game doesn't always exactly know how to present these environments well, unfortunately. It suffers from a pretty severely cruddy camera with tracking that's simultaneously overly sensitive while also making it very easy to lose sight of yourself, and it's victim to severe clipping issues at times. But when things line up just right, it could look pretty gorgeous. One of the game's biggest strengths is its character portraits. They're on the smaller side, but they're nonetheless very detailed and charming, with different expressions to match the character's mood line to line. What their 3D models struggle to express, the 2D art gets across very well, and there's a good amount of unique portraits between main characters and side NPCs that are all packed with their own bits of personality. I think it might actually be my favorite part of how the game looks. Backing all that up is the game's soundtrack, which probably sells the whole experience, honestly. It's a mix of weird upbeat electronic and jungle music with some pretty powerful beats. There's a lot of music, and I'm a fan of all of it. There's some tracks I want to save for when we get into the story, but if I had to name my favorite area for how it pulls all these different aspects of its presentation together, it'd be the Lost Forest level. It's got this really nice drifting ambience with the light fog and the long, branching, seemingly endless pathways that all feel illuminated by this sort of quietly upbeat, soft little tune. So it's a shame that for all the strengths here, the one area this game really drops the ball is the sound design. These tracks are great, but, and say it with me now, they don't loop. Like this time of all times, it's really weird that they don't loop. They don't sound like Red Book audio, but I guess they are. I guess they composed digital music and then recorded it to Red Book Audio and then used that without looping it? It's weird and distracting, and combined with the game's conspicuous lack of sound effects, creates this weird effect where the game's soundscape is entrancingly beautiful until you get this moment of awkward silence as you have to wait for it to fade out and back in. It's pretty unfortunate. And unfortunate is a word that unfortunately describes a few other things about Ling Rise that we will get into momentarily. Okay, that came off way too negative. It's not bad, it's just a bit messy. Really, Ling Rise is a bit hard to talk about without getting into the story. It's a mechanically light game that's more of a weird experience than anything else. And it's an experience that nobody really seems to be familiar with. So, I guess all this is spoilers. I don't know, you probably clicked on here knowing you weren't going to get to play this yourself anytime soon. Unless you can, in which case, good for you. After passing through the first town, Jinval has a run-in with a young woman being chased by an Imperial soldier. Frustrated about his target managing to evade capture, he decides to try and take it out on us. Not the smartest move. After beating him away with her little blue bird, the woman, a girl by the name of Kamuna, comes back in to make Jinval's acquaintance. She's impressed, and has some friends she wants to introduce us to, those friends being the resistance group, Kujara. I didn't know it could be this easy to end up joining the rebellion, but apparently it is. There's a whole cast of rebel buddies who introduce themselves here, but besides Kamuna, most of them don't get that much to do for a while, so we'll get to them when they have more notable moments. There is Issa, who has a cool design and plays off Kamuna pretty well as the only other woman in the group, but to spoil things a bit, she doesn't really get opportunities to do anything besides that. Ling Rise's story is shockingly compact, and as a result, extreme side characters like her get less to do than the supporting members of Avalanche and FF7 did. The important one for right now is the leader of the Resistance, a chipper young man by the name of Gasso, who also happens to be the estranged nephew of the late king, having set off for adventure years ago only to come back after hearing of the state of his home country. He asks Jinval to go chat with a former captain of the Imperial Guard, an old man and a Ling master himself by the name of Gion. Not for any specific reason, he just kinda asks us to go talk to him for the sake of it, I guess. I like the opening bit here where he mistakes Jinval for some kid named Taraku from the village of Bean and asks him how business is going back home, whether they've still got prohibition going on. It's a cute bit that shows the game's interest in really trying to expand and build on its world. It's also pretty cute how you see Pachu and Gion's Ling playing around in the background. As Jinval leaves, Gion urges his little buddy to go help us on our quest, reassuring him that in his company, even after the death of his wife, he's never once felt lonely, and he can only feel proud about the idea of a member of his family fighting for the good of the world. Guess the tears come with age. After that kind of barely explicable side trip, Jinval joins the gang, and everyone sets up for their next big plan: to drive all the soldiers in town into the local in-construction snow mountain fortress, and then create an avalanche to kill them all. We've got the cooperation of the townspeople for this, so the only real snag is that we don't want to kill the innocent townspeople who were brought in to build it. So Jinval and his new girlfriend, Kamuna, take the job to go up and warn them all before the operation begins. The two manage to warn out all the innocent construction workers, but are unable to get back out before the guards spot them, introducing us to two of the game's villains. Well, one of the game's villains, and a bit bad guy who's not too long for this world. You know at least one of these guys is important, because he gets the best theme song in the game. Jinval and Kamuna are held captive by the fortress's commander, the brash and brutish Gant, and Mubara's second-in-command, the cool-headed and sharp-witted Kuan. This song is his theme, by the way. As fiendish as they are, their interrogation tactics are a bit too weak to drag any real information out of us. Well, Gantz at least. Kuon just doesn't seem to really care. He's getting out of this junk pile soon, and he doesn't care to spend another moment on it, leaving us to rot in our cell. This cues one of the game's rare CG cutscenes. These are a really odd part of Ling Rise. They're undeniably low budget and cheap looking, but the moment-to-moment writing and cinematography do a lot to elevate them. With Blue Hawk coming to the rescue, Jinval chooses to stay behind. His little Ling buddies are being kept in a separate cell at the top of the tower. Kamuna follows Blue Hawk back to town, though not without some objection. Before we head up, the game cuts away to one last little interaction between Gant and Kuon. The brutish commander, clearly displeased with his current posting and complaining about wanting some food and drink to gobble up, with Kuon somewhat sarcastically reassuring him he'll have a more favorable posting soon enough. As long as he makes sure to send those Lings up to the castle, he can look forward to a cushy position, leading a new platoon of troops on the assault of the neighboring kingdom of Houn. Rest assured, I will put forward my most fervent effort in having you appointed for such a position. Huh? Ferv? Oh, never mind. I shall be off. Fervent? Rescuing our Lings goes surprisingly easy, but on our way out, the commander announces his presence. Head to town and buy me some friggin' sake! Huh? Who gave you permission to skip around in my fort, boy? That look in your eyes. You must really want to have a go with me, huh? Let me warn you, I ain't so good at holding back. You've done it before, right? Tried to capture an ant with your bare hands, only to end up crushing it. If you want that to happen to you, I suppose I'll give you what you're asking for. Show me some fervency, boy. This introduces us to boss fights. Boss fights in Ling Rise are, they're fine? Kinda jerky and weird. The combat in this game in general is pretty overly simplistic, and the bosses are mostly just a guy with a lot of health jumping around in an arena. What you've seen here is basically what all of them look like. With the big guy down, we've got do I compare this to City Escape or Crash Bandicoot? Upon arriving back at base, everyone celebrates our continued survival and packs up to head to the... we're already headed to the Imperial Capital? Damn, the revolution's going faster than I expected. They do tell Jinval it'd be a good idea to stop by the secret village of Yataka first, though. A secret village that supposedly only Ling Masters can gain access to. Sounds like a plan. The path to Yataka is one of the more visually dynamic areas in the game, passing down through the forest greenery through this big waterfall and into this kinda cramped and kludgy ancient ruin. Yeah, the camera's not Ling Rise's strongest point. There's a bit of a puzzle here, but it's not a super complicated or interesting one. Just be careful of the scary demon face statues and the giant logs. The village of Yataka itself is built around this massive tower, or maybe built into the tower is more accurate. There are NPCs in Ling Rise, and sometimes they've got decently entertaining dialogue. If you talk to the old man near the entrance, you can learn that the village has been getting smaller and smaller lately, all the young folk heading off and losing sight of the nature that defines their way of life, thus being more literally cut off from their hometown. If we venture off into this particular hut, we'll meet the village chief, a surprisingly young girl by the name of Kimshasa. As the sort of local authority on Lings, she's got some scary news about what's been happening with them. Emperor Mubara has been deliberately gathering them up and using some sort of power to bend and manipulate them to his will, warping their core essence. That itself can be seen in the world around them, as even within the village, Lings are slowly starting to disappear. She mentions that this might just be the flow of the times, prompting Jinval to ask her what she means by that. In her words, Lings exist to provide aid to those who need it. If the world gets too convenient, then they'll stop existing? She doesn't seem so sure of it herself, where Lings come from, how they're created, or why they might go away. Anyway, she has a Ling with a 3D model, so Jinval's getting that too. That's the rule. She also gives us permission to go through this gate at the top of the tower to enter the pathway to reach the Kalan Forest, where there's rumors the Empire's chasing our buddy Blue Hawk. This prompts one of the longer sequences of uninterrupted gameplay in Ling Rise. It was also where I hit my first game over. Check out this game over screen, it's pretty sick. The best way to describe this chunk of the game is a bit of a fever dream. After navigating the abstract floating cube dimension, you somehow transition into a massive winding maze of passages through a seemingly endless forest. You can actually bump into a couple of your buddies from the Resistance here, Kava and Shing. They don't seem to be having a very good day.
Hey, Kava, mind telling me where we are? I just told you, we're in the middle of the Kalan Forest. That's not what I meant. Fine, we are in the center of a large forest located in the northwest of the kingdom of Ihashas. Wasn't asking that either. The Kalan Forest, also known as the Lost Forest. It's said that in past generations it was the site for a common coming-of-age ritual, where one's maturation into an adult was proven through safe navigation back out of the forest. Look, what I'm getting at is, ain't this the third time we've circled back around to these same trees?
After wandering around here for a while, you'll suddenly find yourself back at the start, at the intersection between Floating Cube World and the forest. But if you move back towards the forest again, you'll find yourself in an entirely different location, under this rocky archway. And Blue Hawk is here? Huh. She's not even wearing her mask, so we're already meeting her for who she really is. The missing princess of Ihashas and former lover of Mubara, Princess Onikis. If it wasn't clear enough, Gasso runs in to confirm her identity for us. Wait, Gasso is here? At the other end of this hidden path that is only accessible through a village? That he just told us only people with Lings can enter? Gasso, how? How? For Jinval, this is mostly just a pretty awkward moment. Blue Hawk says she's glad he survived the avalanche, and Gasso proceeds to tease her over how moody she is, now that the man she used to love has turned into an actual psychopath and murdered her entire family. Even she points that out to him, and he's just kinda like, yeah, I guess, But man, it's a real bummer to see you like this, you know? If Gasso getting here wasn't confusing enough, somehow Kamuna's appeared. Kamuna, how did you get here? I could at least buy Shing and Kava getting lost in the woods. That seemed like, I don't know, some kind of warp to a whole separate area. But how is everyone appearing at the end of this path that they just told Jinval only he could access? And why is this turning into a standard rom-com misunderstanding jealousy beat? I can see the idea behind this scene, but it feels like they just wrote it in without an actual coherent place in the story to set it, and it just settled on this one area because there hasn't been much dialogue for a while. But wait, there's more! Move further south still to get some bearing on where you are, and you'll discover this entire scene has been happening on a beach? This was sea level? There was a floating sky cube world at the top of a tower that moved into a forest that turned into a beach? And there's just a regular inn and a hut here? People just live here? This is normal? On the way out, we find Kuon waiting for us with his awesome theme song.
Ah, the boy from the other day. Glad to see you're in good health. Hey, I mean it. Bottom of my heart. Unless you think I'm mad you killed Gant.
Oh, you really don't have to worry about it.
I've got no hard feelings about the man. More importantly, we are in need of Lings. Like, say, the ones you have right there. Really, I can only thank you for giving such a convenient opportunity to grab them all at once. Blue Hawk may have escaped, but with this, I'll still be able to show my face to Lord Mubara.
I really do love this guy, honestly. He's a great shit-eating, overconfident bad guy. Almost a shame he's this easy to cheese. Once he's been bonked into the next century, he just runs off while the entire bridge collapses under us. Surprisingly, Jinval comes out of it completely unscathed, ready to jog across the whole mountainside railroad to Haraiska. Try not to get hit by the trains, they pack a bit of a wallop. Before setting out on that path, though, we get a sudden cut over to the big man himself, Mubara. He's got a really interesting theme. I know people call music like this D&B and jungle, but this really feels like jungle music that embodies the essence of an actual jungle. I'm a big fan of his perpetually irritated frown, too. He's weirdly cute for a murderous psychopath. The woman talking to him is one of his associates, Igachichu, who not so subtly harbors romantic feelings for him.
You do not seem to be feeling your best.
Don't talk like you know me. I had no intention. Just forget it. We don't got much time, and we don't have much choice how we do it. Spread the word kingdom-wide. The Emperor's proclamation calling for the capture of all Lings. Then get back to your research.
Yes, sir.
Are you planning on just standing there till I tell you to get lost?
No, sir. Have you gathered anything about Blue Hawk's whereabouts?
Kuon's getting it handled. Now clean that wax out of your ears and listen when I tell you. Go get your own work done.
Right. Apologies. I'm sorry.
After our short jog, we finally arrive at the capital of Haraiska. It's a pretty neat location. There's some really funny NPC dialogue and some pretty odd architecture. Once Jinval arrives at the chapel, he makes the acquaintance of the final resistance member, an eccentric pastor by the name of Frana. I possess some small measure of medical knowledge. Should you ever find yourself hurt, please ask me for help. I insist. And don't go cheating on me with any other doctors now. I'll be looking forward to it? Mm-hmm. Why, I'll even leave you feeling better than you do right now. As Kava arrives, he reveals we've got a whole 100-man army coming in. Hey, wait, where's Shang? Incredible! I must get started then. Post haste! Get started on what? My latest recipe! I was just in the middle of putting the finishing touches on my brand new soup bowl. Look forward to it with bated breath, I implore you. Oh, 100 men! Truly, this occasion proves the worth of creating my soup! You, have a nice chat with the pastor? Apparently he's an old acquaintance of Gasso's. He's a bit of a total weirdo. With Gasso's arrival, he gives the order. Once our ranks are assembled, we're moving straight into our next operation. There were already scary rumors of him harnessing the power of Karai to suppress and manipulate the Lings, but with Mubarah's official proclamation of the Ling hunt, it seems those rumors are more than factual. And his plan for the Lings themselves? To assemble them as a frontline assault force against Hoon. Looks like the Resistance is going to be relying on Jinval a lot in these coming days, as their resident Ling specialist. And continuing the sudden string of plot scenes, we get a glimpse at Kuon and Higachichu. How is Lord Mubarah? Oh, who can say? I've only just arrived back here myself. There should be about 16 Lings arriving at the conversion room today. And Blue Hawk? Sorry to disappoint you. You know, you've been quite fixated on Blue Hawk for some time, haven't you? There's a rumor that Blue Hawk and Princess Onykus are one and the same. I wonder how Lord Mubarah might be thinking of that. Excuse me.
Predictable woman.
The string of plot scenes does not stop as we return to the chapel, Issa and Kamuna finally arriving. Sadly too late for soup, but just in time for mission briefing. Our target's a boat laying anchor in the Bubbling Harbor, stuffed to the gills with altered and converted Lings. The boat's destination? The small, impoverished, and currently ungoverned nation of Hoon. Got no idea why Mubarah's targeting a place like that, but it's what he's doing. Things have stayed small enough for us to hang back a bit before, but this next move takes the cake. We can't let the bastard cause any more trouble. Get this through your heads, everyone. This is an all-out clash to see who falls first, us or him. With Kava heading up the technical sabotage side, Jinval's being deployed as a one-man army to board the ship and devastate it from the inside, as the only one familiar with the handling of Lings. Me and my forces will penetrate the harbor and cut off all enemy reinforcements. You can count on me. I'll keep you guys safe even if it kills me. Next, Issa. Your squad will provide cover for Kava's team and stir up hell in the harbor. Kamuna, you go with Issa. Try to at least piss him off a bit. This is a great plan and all, Chief, but... What is it? You guys are kinda... especially weirdly energetic today. Yes, you're right. For some reason, I just feel this strange sense of energy pulsing throughout my entire body. Is that... so... Wow, there's a few more people here now. Do you two also wish to have a taste of my special soup? There's still plenty left. Me, I want some soup. Fantastic, I'll bring it right over. Just one taste will have you perked up like a fine summer morning. Hey, wait a sec, did you put something in that soup? Yes, I put in various herbs I discovered. I thought they'd be perfect to ingest just before a mission. Leaves that blow away exhaustion, flowers that elate the spirit, roots that dull your sensation of pain, and then, what else did I put in? Maybe it was good that we were late. Yeah, I'll survive on an empty stomach just a bit longer. Well, with that's, everyone, be careful. To reach the dock, we've got to pass through the local Karai factory. Along the way, we can get an explanation of what Karai energy is made from. Apparently, the principle for it was discovered long ago by a very smart guy, and involves some kind of friction to produce resonant things, and when you resonate the things together, it creates energy. The smart guy died in obscurity, but he had a smart son, and the smart son carried on the smart guy's research, ultimately inventing Karai energy. But where the smart son is now, did he commit suicide seeing his research is used for war? Did he sell the rights to his research for big money, only to get robbed and killed by a big money bandit? Who can say? But the moral of the story is, you gotta be careful how smart a guy you are. Cutscenes upon cutscenes again, it's back to Side Mubarah, where the whole evil gang is here, gathering in the room where they gathered to discuss things. From the proceedings, Igachichu's workplace happens to be the boat we're storming, and she's so on board with this plan she actually offered up her own Ling as their first test subject. Kuon warns her that if it comes to blows, she's putting her life on the line.
Her life might really be at risk, you know. We can't afford to let the plan slip behind any further. My thoughts exactly.
The factory is one of the last unique levels in the game. It's aight. There's a few explorable areas on the boat itself, but mostly it's straight to the Igachichu fight. She looks a bit different. It's true? You're seriously trying to turn Lings into tools of war? Less tools of war and more tools for Lord Mubara. Even I don't really wish to aid in violence, but this is about all I can do for him. Between what you wish to do and who I have to protect, I only have one choice. I'll show you just how powerful these converted Lings are. She, as typical of all boss fights, looks more intimidating than she is. What? It looks like all the little Lings sleeping at the bottom of the ship have just opened their eyes. We've got to get out of here. I would have killed to have Mubara turn to look at me. Just once. Only kiss. You're too lucky. The boat escape sequence is one of the game's more exciting set pieces, especially when you get to the other boats. There's a lot of them. And at the end of it all, we find ourselves at the beach. This isn't Hoon. This is the beach. It's the same beach with the same inn. It goes down the same path. What? What? Wait, what? Huh?
It would seem that Igachichu has been killed in battle. What of the fleet and the Lings? At the bottom of the sea? She was a surprisingly worthless woman. She bought us time. We'll crush Hoon with the castle alone. Get preparations going to make sure those ants can't bother us. Understood.
Before we can head back to town, we ought to take the opportunity to chat with Kinshasa. Though it's less of a chat and more of another dramatic plot dump. Being somewhat of a Ling speaker, she heard the resonating voices of all those dead Lings crying out, followed by silence. She asks Jinval if he knows how Karai energy is created, and he actually remembers that NPC conversation from a bit earlier. It's formed from the combined simultaneous resonance of special materials. Kinshasa drops the bomb. Correct. Do you know how Lings are born? It's the same way. The exact same as you have just said. Have you ever heard the noise of the leaves of a tree in the forest brushing together like a soft whispering voice? Of large stones tumbling down a mountain, producing a sound like an angry roar? A drop of water gathering up into a river, its flow a sound of laughter? These are all the voice of nature, the voice necessary for nature to call together, cling together, and at times push each other apart. The voice gently gathers at the bottom of earth, in the trunks of trees and the banks of rivers. Lings are the crystallization of this gathered up nature, and all Karai does is thoughtlessly pull away that voice. And Lings and Karai both will soon vanish from this world. There is no such thing as an endless source of power. In short, things are not looking good. There is a chance things could go back to normal if we put a stop to Mubara's reckless abuse of natural resources, but if we're too late, then in a word, we're fucked. Thankfully, we don't have to run the whole path back to Escha today. Yataka's letting us ride the express line. This bit is pretty jank. We're basically at the finishing stretch of the story, but when you're a budget RPG, things find a way to stretch on for just an extra half hour or so. There's not actually that much to say for what happens when we return to the chapel, other than that Kamuna's gone missing after storming off somewhere. We do know that the direction she stormed off in was towards the Kalan forest, so it's time to question reality again and reuse some level design to get over to her location. This previously empty, nondescript house in between the beach and the award-winning Cube World. Here, Kamuna decides to dramatically fill us in on her backstory. This game's turning into a lot of plot dumps, huh? Turns out this home is where she grew up. It was just her dad, and her brother. She doesn't know anything about their family history, just that they came here from somewhere far away, and they spent their lives here together in peace, until her father passed away 5 years ago. Her brother, a recently initiated Knight of the Imperial Guard, didn't come home after that. You may see where this is going. Can't be easy having an evil terrorist for an older brother. One more flash over to the Mubara gang, down to its last 2 members. Preparations are complete. We can go at any time. Get this thing in the air already. So blunt and flavorless. Can't you put in a little more, I don't know, pomp and circumstance? Send all Karai energy to Ihasha's castle's full movement system. Launch! Hashasja Karai! Well, Hashas Castle is flying. At a loss for any clear course of action, with any idea of dropping the castle bringing the risk of damaging the land below, everyone naturally drifts to the one option they have. There's only one guy here who can kinda float. Before setting off for the mission, Jinval has one last big conversation with Kamuna about the fact that he's probably going to have to kill her brother. It's a surprisingly standard, I don't care, you better come back alive thing. Now it's time to jump off across. Jinval, get hurt as much as you want. I'll heal up all your wounds. So just give up on dying. You gotta love how this guy just never stops being insane. There's, some more platforming here at the end. It is unfortunately still not really the game's most exciting or strongest trait, but it's there. Once you get inside the castle itself, we get to be hyped up for the final battle with the return of that ominous music from the opening. Cool. Along the way, we bump into Onikis. I finally figured out why I always get so talkative when I see your face. You look just like my dead brother. To think I've sworn revenge while forgetting what my own brother's face looked like. Jinval, when I've gotten my revenge, I wonder what I'll do after. We finally get to see that weird-ass cyber tube chamber from the opening, but it's not Mubara in here waiting for us. It's Kuon. He's been waiting. Waiting to give us the king of all backstory dumps. This is a Metal Gear Solid length one. Buckle in. Oh, it's you, boy. Fate has joined us together, hasn't it? This is the last time. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm glad to see you're as prepared as I am, but I think that if you died, that girl of yours would be quite sad. You're quite close, are you not? That's got nothing to do with you. I suppose you're right. It's got nothing to do with me, nor with Lord Mubara. Huh? What? You thought I didn't know? Oh, how about I tell you a little story? Mubara and his younger sister were born in Hoon. That's right, the very nation we're attacking. They were born of the Hoon royal family, crown prince and princess. But much like a certain nation, Hoon faced revolution. The king and queen found their heads hanging from the gallows, cheered on by the roaring voices of their own countrymen. Oh, they did have their reasons, but it was still a grisly way to die. And the same fate awaited their children, seemingly. It was only thanks to a loyal retainer that they escaped. Here, to Ihashas. Like the girl thought, at a glance they seemed like a simple, happy family. Can't really blame her for thinking of it like that, I suppose. It was what both her older brother and the retainer had tried so hard to do. Really such a heartful tale, isn't it? It would have been nice if things had ended here, but you know some of what happened 5 years ago. When the retainer realized his life was reaching its end, he called over his son, in Houn, along with his regrets, his frustration, all those things he should have left dead and forgotten. The restoration of the royal line, the righteous judgment for the rebels, the kingdom's grand return, all those unfulfilled dreams burned at his breast. He died entrusting them to the prince and to his own son. The memories of his past revived within his soul. The flames of vengeance could only burn brighter and more intense. At those people who hanged their parents, who threw stones at their hanging bodies. And the rest is, well, you already know. As for me, I've had my fill of this life, pushing the role as target of all men's hatred unto Mubarra, all while in my heart thanking my father for calling me all the way here from Hoon. That's all the story I have to tell. Any questions, boy? How could he fixate so much on avenging his parents? Has he not thought once about his own sister? What? Do you find those feelings ill-befitting of him? Well, I'm afraid we've both come too far to pull back now. Enough. I'll push through you and I'll ask Mubarra himself. Now that's an absolutely adorable little line. I like it. Let's dance. With how much setup this fight had, it does feel pretty climactic, even though all you're really fighting with is the camera. There's not much room for boss fights to present actual difficulty anymore. And no, they don't really explain what the tanks are for. I guess they're Karai energy? Karai energy generates weird, rotten lings? Freaky. You've got me where you want, boy. Why not deliver the finishing blow? You'd think I'd let you just die here? You've got too much to live and atone for. You're pretty cool for how cute you look. Sayonara, boy. Mubarra might be the evil emperor, but to me, Kuon is the king. As we ascend this absolutely absurd staircase, Jinval hears a noise and not long after, finds Onikus lying on the ground. She doesn't look too good. Whatever happened between her and Mubarra up here, it didn't end well for her. Jinval gets to confront Mubarra like he was saying he wanted, but we already know the big man's been too stubborn and absorbed in his own shit to budge. After screaming at Jinval to prove that he can shoulder Onikus and Kamuna's anger as his own, we initiate the final battle, and it's the same as always. Weirdly though, you don't attack Mubarra, you attack a flying red sword? Wait, this is the red sword from the opening. We're just kind of randomly fighting it? Well, it's only phase 1. I've lived to reclaim my motherland, to avenge my mother and father, to return as a proper king. What could a child like you, devoid of his own thoughts and words, know? This is my will, the will of me, of Kamuna, of Onikus, and all the people of Kujara. I heard their words with my own ears. I saw their suffering with my own eyes, and with their thoughts, I've made it here. Is that so? Then you can die without regrets. The final boss has very cool music. He has an invulnerability shield and can teleport around. Yeah, it's the same thing otherwise. Really cool music though. From here, it's straight to the ending, which gets a little nuts, to say the least. Mubarra. All of the things you've done to me. Mubarra, can you hear me? Mubarra, are you listening? Tell me, do I not get a single word of apology from you? Do I not even get to hear you say my name one more time? What is Ling Rise? I'm still not really sure. First, it was a surrealist art house nightmare. Then it was Crash Bandicoot with monster-raising elements. And then it was a fantasy political drama with themes of nature versus industry. The only thing I can say for sure is that it definitely has a vision. With a little more time and resources, I could see this game being a genuine PS1 RPG classic. As is, it's short and sweet enough to still be a fun ride, but there's certainly some things that are missing to make it feel fully realized. The original concept is credited to one Matsui Ryusaku, and they do have some scattered credits on a few other games, usually as an artist more than a writer. Art direction is credited to a Hidetoshi Fujioka, who seems to have also shared roles in some random games with the former. Their most significant jobs seem to have been on Wonder Project J2 and Nanatsu Kaze no Shima Monogatari. I've been meaning to check both of these out. The actual writing is credited to Hironiwa Yasutaka? Can't find anything for him, so I'm not even sure if that's the correct reading. The staff does certainly seem to be all more ground-level support people who never otherwise got shots at executive roles on game development. It's not a big list of credits either. Ling Rise was the product of a very small, dedicated team, and you definitely can't say they didn't shoot high. It's a flawed game, but one I can't hate. If this sort of RPG curiosity interests you, it might be worth the look. It won't take a ton of your time, and you could find something to really love about it. I'm back in a bit of a rut for figuring out what the next video should be, but I've got ideas. Some big RPGs, some weirder PS2 stuff. Whatever it is, you can probably look forward to some acquired games on the horizon. And maybe even some more weird storybook-esque RPGs, and some especially jank retro games. See you then.